The Roman Empire's mysterious fall, more than just barbarians. For centuries, the Roman Empire stood as the most powerful civilization the world had ever seen. From the misty shores of Britain to the deserts of Egypt, Rome's legions marched in perfect formation. Its aqueducts carried fresh water for millions, and its laws laid the foundation for modern government. Rome wasn't just an empire, it was the very idea of civilization itself. People of its time believed it could never fall, and yet, in the 5th century AD, it did. The eternal city itself was sacked, the mighty empire split apart, and the Western Roman Empire was no more. But here's the question that has haunted historians for centuries. Why did Rome collapse? The traditional answer seems simple enough: the barbarians destroyed it. In 410 AD, the Visigoth king Alaric marched into Rome and sacked the city. Imagine it, the unthinkable happening, the capital of the empire, humiliated. Just a few decades later, in 476 AD, the last Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was deposed, and the Western Empire officially ended. If you stopped here, it would be easy to believe Rome's downfall was just a case of outsiders overwhelming it. But history is rarely that simple. Rome had survived invasions before. Barbarians had crossed its borders for centuries, and somehow, Rome always bounced back. So why did it collapse permanently in the 5th century? Why couldn't it rise again? That's where the mystery deepens. Some historians argue that Rome's greatest enemy wasn't outside, it was inside. Corruption ran deep in the empire. Emperors rose and fell at an alarming rate, often murdered by their own guards or rivals. Civil wars tore the empire apart, as generals fought not for Rome, but for their own ambitions. The political system that once held everything together began to rot from within. A society that once prided itself on discipline and unity became fractured and unstable. But politics alone couldn't bring down an empire of such size. The economy tells an equally grim story. Rome had grown rich on conquest, but once expansion slowed, so did the endless stream of plunder and slaves that had powered its economy. The empire became dependent on taxing its own citizens to the breaking point. Heavy taxes crushed farmers, inflation spiraled out of control, and the reliance on slave labor stifled innovation. Instead of finding new ways to improve productivity, Rome clung to old systems that no longer worked. Think about it, a society that once engineered marvels like aqueducts and roads, suddenly found itself unable to adapt to a changing world. And then, there's the climate. Modern research shows that the fall of Rome coincided with a period of cooling temperatures known as the Late Antique Little Ice Age. Crops failed. Harvests shrank. Famines became more common. A hungry empire is a weak empire, and when combined with the other pressures, this environmental shift may have tipped the balance. But nature had another weapon: disease. Ancient writers describe plagues sweeping across the empire, killing millions. The Antonine Plague in the 2nd century had already devastated Rome's population. Later, the plague of Cyprian struck in the 3rd century, and other outbreaks followed. Entire cities were weakened, armies shrank, and the economy suffered even more. Some historians believe pandemics played a greater role in Rome's collapse than any barbarian invasion, because what good are walls and armies if your people are too sick to fight? Still, here's where the mystery deepens even further. If Rome fell from internal weakness, why didn't the Eastern Roman Empire collapse too? After all, the Eastern Empire, what we now call Byzantium, faced the same pressures. And yet, while the Western Empire crumbled, Byzantium endured for another 1,000 years, even thriving at times. Its capital, Constantinople, became one of the wealthiest and most powerful cities in the world. So, what was the difference? Was it geography, offering stronger natural defenses? Was it better leadership, with emperors like Constantine and Justinian? Or was it simply luck? The contrast between East and West is one of history's most fascinating puzzles. It shows that Rome's fall wasn't inevitable. It was a perfect storm of factors that hit the West harder than the East. And then there's the bigger question. Did Rome truly fall at all, or did it simply transform? After the empire collapsed, many Roman traditions lived on. Medieval Europe inherited Roman laws, Roman roads, Roman languages. The Catholic Church preserved much of Rome's structure and authority, calling itself the heir to the empire. In some ways, Rome never really died, it just changed its form. The philosopher and historian Edward Gibbon, whose work The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire remains legendary, once wrote, "The decline of Rome was the natural and inevitable effect of immoderate greatness." He meant that Rome became too big for its own good, like a giant that grew until its own weight crushed it. But not everyone agrees. Some argue that if just a few key things had gone differently, if Rome had adapted its economy, if it had stronger leaders, if a few invasions had been repelled, might have survived much longer. Consider this. Rome at its height had a population of over 60 million people. It had armies that could mobilize hundreds of thousands of soldiers. It had trade routes stretching from India to Britain. And yet, it fell. Meanwhile, far smaller states have survived for centuries. Why? Because Rome's greatness may have been its greatest weakness. When everything depends on massive coordination, the smallest cracks can bring the whole system down. The fall of Rome also raises a chilling question for us today. If even the most powerful empire in the world could collapse, what about ours? We like to believe our modern societies are stronger, smarter, more advanced. But are we really? Rome too believed it was eternal. Its citizens called their city the Eternal City. And yet, within a single lifetime, the Western Empire disappeared. Roads crumbled, cities emptied, trade routes collapsed. What once was the most advanced society in the world turned into what we now call the Dark Ages. Could something similar ever happen to us? Historians still debate the answer. Was Rome destroyed by barbarians, undone by its own corruption, or weakened by forces beyond its control, like climate and disease? The truth is, it wasn't just one thing. It was everything working together, piling up like waves crashing on a shore, until the empire finally gave way. And maybe that's why the fall of Rome continues to haunt us. It isn't just a story about the past, it's a warning, a reminder that no empire, no matter how powerful, is invincible, that even the greatest civilization can collapse under the weight of its own greatness, and that history, in the end, has a way of humbling us all. So when we ask, why did Rome fall, we might be asking a deeper question, not just about the past, but about ourselves. If it happened to Rome, could it happen again? If you enjoyed this journey through Mystery Vault, make sure to subscribe and join us for more mysteries of history and the world around us.